Blake Harper is a Creighton Blue Jay, Carter. He is going to an offensive system that tends to get the most out of its wings. And I really like the way this Creighton sort of like the wing and the front court rotation is shaping up, where you have Harper, you have Jason Green there as well. And then looking at the bigs, you got Jackson McAndrew, who had a great freshman year, and Owen Freeman, who's sort of the crown jewel of this class. And yeah, I know you're a big Harper guy in general. How do you see him fitting into Creighton? And what do you even think this means for like their front court and their wing rotation in general?
Yeah, quietly, I think, we talk about like portal winners and losers, and I think people have brought up, St. John's, Louisville, the classic guys that have won the portal. I need people to start talking about what Creighton has done in the portal a lot more. They get Nick Graves, Josh Dix, Owen Freeman. They have some good returners, Isaac Trout, Jackson McAndrew. Yeah, I just really love kind of how this roster is really shaped out. And I think Blake Harper is, he was one of the more underappreciated guys in the portal, in my opinion. I thought, his list would come down to some more blue bloods, to be honest with you, because he was absolutely incredible his freshman year, even in the MEAC, kind of a lower level conference. To average what he averaged, I think he averaged what, 19.6 rebounds, 3 assists, all on great percentages. And I really like the film. He's 6'8". He also is a guy who honestly I think is gonna have an NBA future, but in a maybe an ideal world for Creighton, you get this guy for multiple years while also pairing him with the guys that you're bringing in who are going to have one more year with Creighton that I mentioned, the transfers coming in. I really like the way this Creighton Blue Jays team is shaping out. And honestly, with the addition of Blake Harper, I'm going to go ahead and get in front of this now because you guys are going to have to deal with me on this channel for the rest of the year. Creighton's going to be a Final Four pick for me as like a dark horse. I really like what they've done.
I'm with you. I think this team is shaping up to be a surefire top 25 unit. Graves, I know, has some questions with efficiency, but I think getting out of that Charlotte system into something a little more free flowing with Creighton, and just like McDermott is an offensive wizard. There's really no way around it. He's established himself as one of the best offensive minds in the game, and I think he'll. I just trust him to like get the most out of the backcourt. I trust him to get the most out of the front court, and I think with Harper in particular, we're going to see him expand his game to a new level. He only made 43s last year, which I know is on the lower end. Excuse me, I think it was, I had the number in front of me, 40%, 32 makes. So a little bit of a lower volume than you would probably expect out of who I assume will be the starting three at Creighton. But I think he can take some strides in that area. Like his form looks good to me. But even underscoring that beyond the 3-point shooting, like Cart, you know what we say. Basketball is a game about putting the orange thing in the 10-foot thing. And that is what Blake Harper did. He scored 28 points or more 5 times last season. I'm pretty sure he won the MEAC Freshman of the Week every week during league play. Like this kid came out of nowhere. He was a 6'4" guard. I think he a DeMatha kid. I'm getting some of my facts. I'm pretty sure he's
Yeah, he was a DMV kid. I know. I think he might have been a DeMatha kid, but I know he went to one of like those main DMV schools.
I'm almost hold on. This is Creighton fans, this is on me for not fact checking this beforehand. Oh, he went to Gonzaga College,
Okay.
Gonzaga High School. Yeah, yeah. Another school that's produced a ton of pros and just some super high level college hoopers. But he was a 6'4" guard with no major with like no D1 offers who had the growth spurt and went to a really good system with Kenny Blakeney. I think that's a coach who's like big on ball movement and pushing tempo, and like that to me it almost like sets the stage for him to get into a system with McDermott that is going to have that same type of like the premium on ball movement and passing up good shots for great shots, all that cliche stuff. But yeah, I think it's just a home run addition for the Jays. The one question I have, Cart, like watching Blake Harper's film, he got a lot of his baskets by playing bully ball. Like he
Mhm.
seems really comfortable operating in the mid to even low post sometimes, like taking like basically getting physical with smaller guards. I was trying to think through recent wings, like in Creighton's history. Have they had a player like that in a while?
We interrupt this sleepers video to tell you about an offer from Underdog Fantasy. Cart, you love Underdog Fantasy, correct?
Of course I do. Can I have a moment real quick?
Please. Thank you for that. In fact, I'm going to cut you off because our listeners like when we keep these short and sweet. Underdog Fantasy. Sign up as a new user. Use promo code SLEEPERS. Get bonus funds up to $1,000, 50% of your deposit match. The NBA playoffs are rocking right now. I played Underdog last week with a Cade Cunningham line. I'm looking forward to doing it throughout the entire first round of the NBA playoffs, but there's more. You can place picks on golf. You can place picks on baseball. You can place picks on the NHL playoffs that are rocking right now. Join Underdog Fantasy, promo code SLEEPERS. Support this show so that we can keep bringing videos to you. Back to the video.
They honestly, they really haven't. I mean, you look back to some of the other players that they've had, but they've been, you know, I did think Shireman had a little bit of like post up to his game, but like he
Yeah,
was never just like an absolute like kind of bully people. There was a lot of situations with Blake Harper's film where he was looking like, wow, y'all got this guy on me. Like he doesn't lift. He's not tall enough. I'm going to go ahead and just put him in the basket. Um, I think there will be an adjustment to doing that, obviously at the
for
Big
sure.
East.
Yeah. Shireman was the one who I was going back and looking at some of his Creighton highlights just because he had some of like the point forward type skill sets. Like you could run the offense through Shireman. He could make reads from the top of the key. He could anytime he would post up a smaller guard, he could pass like to where if you squint, you could see some comparisons there. But I just think with like Shireman's limitless range compared to Harper only making 32 threes last year, the comp falls a little bit short. Like just looking at the different actions they would run for Shireman with the gravity he would have as a movement shooter. I think Harper's got a ways to go to get to that, but I don't know. I'm really curious to see like how creative McDermott gets with him. If you, because you can, I think, like you said, it's going to take a while for him to fully adjust up to the level of competition where he's playing against defenders who can match his size and can match his athleticism. But I think you could do some cool stuff inverting the offense if you want to play him in the mid post and like using both McAndrew and even Owen Freeman as like floor spacers around him that would create some mismatches. So it's definitely like he's definitely a type of chess piece, and I mean I just love that he's just scratching the surface of his potential when you look at his story and where he came out of nowhere to even be a factor at Howard. To
Yeah, so I guess he had like a 7 inch growth spurt his senior year of high school that he just kind of just he is scratching the surface, I think, like you said, as a player he is now. And honestly, credit to him. I think he's going to be in a situation too where, every night at Howard, he was, even as a true freshman, top of the scouting report. Like he
yeah
was the guy, right? By going to Creighton, being around some other guys, right? Being around an Owen Freeman, Josh Dick, some other guys that can kind of create gravity. I think it can make it so he doesn't have to necessarily come in and force things and be the number one option. I think there are going to be nights he is going to be that, but it's not like at every single kind of, nightly basis type situation. I think there's some other pieces on the team. There's some older guys, some leaders. There's also just like older transfers coming in that I think will be able to take a little bit of like the scoring punch
yeah
from him a little bit.
I'm with you completely. Yeah, I think to even put into context the whole coming out of nowhere angle of this, I got to brag about a connection here. Kenny Blakeney is someone who I got to know through doing the Almanac a couple of years, and
Mhm.
I talked to him last summer about the roster and didn't even mention Blake Harper. And then like I remember when the season started, I think he had 16 points against Kansas. Like, where did this guy come out of nowhere? Who like I talked to his coach for 20 minutes and didn't even get a mention of him as like a player to watch for, and then he just exploded to yeah. I think just seeing him continue that growth trajectory for Creighton is going to be really fascinating to watch. And I don't know, man. Like I can't underscore how much of an attribute that playmaking is from the wing too. Like I think that is the blueprint we've seen before with McDermott type wings. And I go back to Shireman and how he just was able to create so many easy looks for Kalkbrenner, like playing out of ball screens with him, or they would run that action where Kalk would set like a down screen for Shireman. Shireman would get the ball kind of coming off like I guess like a zoom action, and he would find Kalk cutting to the hoop for a lob. Like it's really easy to see Harper running those kinds of actions as well, to where I just think it's like a home run addition in terms of the role he fits, the system he's going into, and even just like the upside that's still there.
Yeah, a guy who, to your credit, to your point here, Riley, in catch and shoot situations, 93, or sorry, not 93, 63% efficiency, field goal percentage on that. That was in the 92nd percentile. He does it extremely well. So you can kind of put him into, you think he's a player you can kind of plug and play in the McDermott system.
Mhm.
And I think he'll be successful. And also like, kind of last laps for McDermott. Like Blake Harper may be part of that and maybe taking Creighton to some places they haven't been able to get over the hump. I think what the farthest they've been is Elite Eight, something like
Yeah,
that.
they made the did they make back to back? They made the Elite Eight in 23 and were
Yeah.
moments away from the Final Four, but then they lost to FAU.
I like the way McDermott's moving here. I
My
like it.
bad. They lost to San Diego State. That would have been so much more fun if Creighton had made that Final Four.
Yeah, let's not talk about it. It makes me upset.
That Creighton team was sick, man. And they lost by 1 point to San Diego State on that questionable foul call. Man, we really could have had Nimhard, Shireman, and Alexander.
Yeah, it would
And
have been
Cock.
it would have been special. But yeah, my hottest of hot takes, because I do love Blake Harper. Um, I am going to pick Creighton in my Final Four, and I'm going to ride with the Blue Jays, and whatever comes with that comes with that.